have a number of announcements, so that's why we wanted to take some time today to do that. The first is that we have an update about in-person gatherings. This has also been emailed out this morning to the email list and also earlier, and we'll be continuing to let you know. The session has decided we are not going to have any indoor in-person services in July or August. There's a variety of reasons for that. We know that the government has made it possible for 25% or 25 people to gather indoors. This space that we're in is quite small, and we did experiment with some in-person services with a small number before. There's some logistical things that need to get worked out. One of the things that we really want to do is we're envisioning a time when we can have in-person worship here, as well as continuing our live stream services. And so Wesley Keeley's been working really hard on that with making sure that we have proper equipment. In August, one of the things we wanted to do was have some volunteers who can come and be trained by Wesley on how to use the equipment so that we're ready for, hopefully, the fall, having some people back in the space. But also continuing that live stream. So there's actually really more work than one person can do. Wesley is often looks like he has 4 or 5 hands trying to manage everything. So we really do need some help with that. But for the time being, that would have been challenging to introduce new volunteers in the current model. So it's just, we're planning for that. We want to prepare for that. We want to prepare the space properly and do that well. So that when we're able to do that, we can just continue on with having in-person indoors. We are going to do 2 outdoor worship gatherings, which will be in an evening. So I believe it's going to be 7 o'clock on either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night. And the hope is that we're going to do that outside of the church building in the parking lot and the green space. We don't have a date for that yet, but we're hoping in the next couple of weeks. So watch for that. We'll be sending that out by email, and we'll let you know hopefully next Sunday will be the first one. And then we will likely do at least one in August. I'm going to have some time off from kind of the last week of July and the first 2 weeks of August. I'll be on holidays, but we'll likely do it when I get back from holidays. The other thing, too, is that the session is going to be reviewing the indoor, in-person gathering stuff we'll review that before the end of August so that we can plan for September. But again, it's kind of hard for us to do that when I'm on holidays. So we're going to wait to review that till later in August. So even if provincial guidelines change, we're pretty set with continuing with the live stream on Sunday mornings and then the evening outdoor services a couple of times over the summer. We also sent out an update about our staff review model. I encourage you to read that. It's about 1.5 pages and provides a bunch of background information, but I'll try to just give you a bit of the highlights now. Back in February 2020, we adopted a new model for our staff. And so I was half-time as Minister of Word and Sacraments, focused on teaching and leadership. Jen was half-time worship and community leader, and we anticipated hiring a part-time admin person. We were also transitioning because our music director, Evangeline Keeley, was retiring, and so we were in the midst of that transition at the same time. Now, that happened in February 2020. We adopted the new model. Obviously, a month later, everything changed. So welcome to the team, Jen, and your job is probably going to be very different. All of our jobs are very different. Everything looked different, obviously. What we figured out is that actually we kind of told you all about this, hiring Wesley to do audiovisual work seemed a higher priority than the admin position that we were looking at. So we went ahead and did that. We were supposed to review that staffing model by the end of 2020, but everything was so much in flux last fall. The session just decided it wasn't practical, so we would just postpone it. So the session's been in the midst of doing that review right now, and there are a couple of changes that we want to make you aware of, but also just that the session has not fully completed that review. So they're going to still be discussing this August, September, but we have a bit of a direction for where things are heading right now. So from my part, I will just let you know I'm super grateful for Prairie. I've been working half-time for Prairie for almost 3 years. Prior to that, I was working full-time. Mainly, the congregation agreed to let me go ahead and do a job for the national church as the coordinator of Cyclical PCC, a church planting initiative for the Presbyterian Church in Canada. And that's been great work as well, and I've really loved it. That contract ends in October, at the end of October. And I've let the national church know that I don't want to renew my contract beyond the end of October. Again, I've loved it, it's been great, but I've just gone through a time of discernment. That's not where I want to necessarily focus my energies at the national level, beyond the contract. And so what I've asked for this session, and I are going to be working on the possibility of me working for Prairie at 3/4 time after the cyclical work is completed. And in some ways, that means not a lot will change. I've also asked to maybe preach a little more. My current arrangement is to preach 3 Sundays a month, regardless of the number of Sundays in the month, and then still having holidays and study leave. And so I really love preaching, so I wouldn't mind preaching every week as part of a 3/4 time position. But the session and I will be still kind of working out what the details of that might look like, so we don't know for sure. But that seems to be the direction we're heading. And I'm going to just ask Jen to talk a little bit about her position and some of the changes there.
Thank you. And I am also really grateful for this community, so grateful for the team to work with Matt and Wesley and with the session. I'm really grateful. As most of you likely know, I have 2 young children, 3 and will be 2 in a few months. If you also have known me a long time, I never thought that I would be like, hey, I'm a mom and I have kids. And so I'm in this place now, and I've had to do a lot of discernment, a lot of understanding, and a lot of growing into a very different life than I ever imagined. So we've been trying things with childcare over the past year, and things just have been a little rocky up and down with that. And after a lot of discernment, I just need to spend more time with my girls and take care of them and learn how to be an awesome mom. I know I'm doing a pretty okay job, but I feel there's a lot of room for improvement, and that requires energy and focus. So I am going to be, or I have cut back my hours in half. So I was at 25 hours. I'm at 12 and a half now a week. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to continue to serve and also take care of my family and learn how to do that in a proficient way that leads to a lot of goodness. We are not sure how long that's going to last, if we get to a place that we find good childcare and that works out. So everything is still in flux. But for right now, this is where it's at. So again, I'm really grateful for the community, for the prayers and support we've received as well. So thank you.
So over the summer, myself, Jen, and Wesley, which are our 3 staff, we're going to look at essentially our job descriptions and task lists to map out the areas that we have been focused on and to sort of try to look ahead and plan for what our work might look like going forward, and identify gaps that we might need to fill, or maybe gaps we don't need to fill. That would be fine too. And so the hope is by the fall, the session will then have completed that review process, and we'll be able to look at other changes that might be needed to the staff configuration, particularly as we look ahead to 2022. I know in July, we all want to look ahead to 2022. But yeah, that's just, we want to make you aware of that process that the session is going through, and also our own discernment that we're going through. And if you've got questions about that, you can contact me if you want. The main elders to talk to are Aaron Whitaker and Janet Simpson, who've been the elders on that review team. And so if you need to talk to them, I can put you in touch with them as well. All right, there are a couple of other things that we just wanted to make you aware of. I know we said there's lots of announcements. Another thing that we wanted to let you know about is we are currently looking for a new treasurer for the congregation. Terry Bruno has done an amazing job as treasurer for a number of years, and he let us know well in advance that that this was going to be his last year. And he's still currently working the treasurer and doing a great job. But the hope is we want to have someone in place by the fall so that Terry can work on transition with them. So you'll get really great training. If you've never done anything like that before, like it's possible if you're a good numbers person and know how to use spreadsheets and things like that, you can likely be trained in how to do it. It can be, Terry can probably fill you in on all the stuff. We're not going to try to do that verbally here. But if you are willing to serve in that role, please talk to me or talk to Terry if you have his contact information. And we'd like to start that process early. So technically that appointment wouldn't be until next spring at our next annual general meeting. But the hope is that we would have someone by fall so that they can train in how to do the year end and all of that stuff to get ready for fully taking it over from Terry next year. So this is lots of like long-term stuff. Why did we decide July 4th is the time to lay out all of the long-term stuff? But we did. So we needed a treasurer. A small bit, actually no, Jen, can you talk a little bit about small groups first?
Absolutely.
Is that great?
I did mention in our prayer that we have some small groups, of course, taking a break over the summer, but there's a few new ones that are starting up. And one, our service small group that Sarah and Maya are leading, they have an event coming up soon. And so if you are interested, there's still time to get involved with that and help out. I believe they're going to be doing some cleanup of litter and garbage along Pembina. So email me, jen@prairiechurch.ca, and I will get you connected with them. Yeah, that's basically it for small groups right now.
Sure. I just want to do mine last now.
Oh, okay.
I'll just change it on the fly. This will be a great video for later.
It's going to be so good. Okay, cool. So another really great thing that is in the email, I'm just going to read an excerpt that Matt added in to our email here. Sorry, my phone is being tricky. This is the best video ever. The PCC has established a new fund in response to the devastation, in response to the devastating confirmation of unmarked graves on the grounds of former residential schools, and in the honor of the children who were lost and all people living with the consequences of that legacy. The Presbyterian Church in Canada has established the Honoring the Children, Reconciliation and Residential Schools Fund. This fund will support initiatives associated with searches for unmarked burial sites in communities where schools were operated by the PCC. So if you go into our email today or go to presbyterian.ca, you'll be able to read more about that, further detail, but they have already put $1 million in there to get things started. So this is a really, really good thing. So check that out. And then there's one more announcement Matt has.
Yeah, thank you for hanging in with us on this with these announcements today, as there's lots to get through.